it started now. Freedom, 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 freedom. My freedom begins at Life Force Canada.
Welcome to Life Force Canada. I am Karen Klassen. I'm here every Monday evening to keep us all connected and to know that you are not alone. Big changes are coming your way, and we need to prepare mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically as we make this transition to freedom. So first of all, I want to thank all of you who are signing up as a private member and supporting our mission and vision here at Life Force Canada. We are just so grateful to you. We know that the last 3 years we've been subjected to the biggest globally coordinated propaganda campaign in the history of the world, which was created through private public partnership of mega corporations. And of course, you just have to go up the hierarchical pyramid to see that it is not the government that is creating all of this. Government is at the bottom, just above the human slavery system. So who is pulling all of those strings, right? We're not too sure. We do know that it is an ancient program system designed to control humanity. Many of us are waking up to the programming as we gain back our soul power. And as we do, they have no more control over us. They said they are doing whatever they can to depopulate the collective and gain control of those who are still here through their Agenda 2030 plan, which includes the 15-minute city and digital ID to track and trace. And this is what I wanted to talk about today. And then the solutions going forward. I know that, and as you know, the majority of our world is blindly accepting their agenda. This is all by design, and you are here to be set free from this master-slave relationship. First of all, I want to thank Dwayne for co-hosting here every Monday. He is leaving this position as sometimes he needs to focus on Sovereign on Monday evenings. Grateful to you, Dwayne, for the time that you gave us here. Sandra Quinn has graciously stepped up and is taking his place. So thank you, Sandra. Can everyone see my t-shirt that I'm wearing? Relinquish all fear that limits you. Remember last week in our prosperity mindset training, when I talked about how we're moving out of polarity consciousness and we're really stepping into the oneness, right? We're stepping into the love, the freedom frequency. And we're all here to relinquish all fear that limits us. We do have these t-shirts available at Life Force Canada. I actually created this design because many years ago, actually August of 1993, I had a spiritual awakening, and it was this incredible vision. I was sitting on a porch with a family, with people that I knew on a soul level. I really didn't know them in the third dimensional reality, but in this vision, crystal clear, in my meditation, and across the street from this house that I was sitting on this porch was other homes, but there's also this really large billboard, and it had gold background and the words on this billboard, and I could read them. I'm not too sure how many of you, when you dream or you're in a meditation, can actually see words. Well, that was the first time I ever saw words. And the words were, relinquish all fear that limits you. Back then, I didn't even know I was in fear. So it's been a journey. However, it's just so important for all of us to begin to releasing all the fears that are holding us back. The ones that we're aware of, and then the ones that we're not quite aware of yet. Okay, the problem. Our Canadian government is really pushing ahead with our agenda of the, oh, thank you, Laura Jane, for putting in the Life First Canada link for anyone who wants to buy a t-shirt. We're going to be having more t-shirts as well, but this is one of my favorites. They have the pink ones too, and I have on those Face Everything and Rise, the acronym for fear as well. So yes, as I was sharing, the Canadian government is pushing ahead with plans to bring 50-minute cities to a location near you. They are in effect climate change lockdowns to create human settlements that are safe and resilient and sustainable. Please. As we know, in a 50-minute city, it's possible to meet your basic needs within a 15-minute walk or a bike ride instead of sitting in traffic during rush hour commute, which is an awesome idea. You can go to work at home or work at, your office nearby. We get it, right? Convenience. You can walk to the grocery store, go to the doctor, take your kids to school, run any other everyday errand. Housing is going to be affordable. They say that a barista could live in a walkable neighborhood as easily as a lawyer. Everyone is receiving the same amount of money. And once combined with digital ID, a carbon credit score, and a programmable central bank digital currency, right? The CBDC token, then you've got the perfect recipe for creating a digital open air prison. Yes. If you need to visit a family member outside of your district, your neighborhood, you would take the ring road. Yes, all the cities are getting these ring roads, right? Before re-entering your chosen zone. Short, direct journeys across the city, like to a supermarket, to retail parks, will be banned to encourage residents to walk and cycle and use public transportation. Eventually, the goal includes the closing of major roads, forcing drivers to ditch their cars and to, of course, use transit. Cameras are going to be at entry and exit points of each zone, so drivers can't move between neighborhoods even. For residents within a zone or a district, they can access the facilities within their neighborhood by car if they need to. But if you want to travel to another neighborhood where another family member lives or your best friend, the most convenient way to do that is going to be walking, cycling, and using public transport. I have mentioned this a couple of times where I have no problem. I love my bike. I love cycling. I love walking. However, we know what this agenda is really all about, right? They say that fines are going to be given out to those who say, I'm planning to drive across the city. I don't care. As I have shared again many times, is the planning stage. And we do have time to prepare. So let's breathe that energy in, that life force energy. We know that we've got time. Okay. Yes, there are certain areas that are moving faster than others, but the full reality of what I just shared is going to take time. Okay. Trust in this. We are on a wild ride, okay? You have at least 2 years, I would say, to get yourself organized, making plans to move out of the main cities. I need to be in my city right now. Unless everyone in your city, well, I would say majority, wake up and
Did we
push
lose
back.
Karen?
Well, we have Karen back. I just want to
Okay,
say
okay.
that. So we had Laura Jane's hand was up next, and we'll get to you next, Katika.
Thank you, Sandra. I just wanted to reiterate, I think one of the biggest issues why it looks like Alberta is moving quickly towards it is because Alberta is the greatest threat right now. We are a province that has been repeatedly not following the federal agenda, And so I think that that is to divide, to do that divisiveness. And so they're putting it out there. But the real important thing is that this is happening at the municipal level, which is the level that the action needs to happen at. And so, I'm really glad to hear that the work that Terry's doing and all the other municipalities that are standing up against us, because it is your local community that really is going to say yay or nay and break this agenda, so good on you, Terry, and all those that are working on it. And don't worry about the propaganda. It's just that it's to divide, and make it look that Danielle Smith and all of the material that's going against the liberal agenda, and I am not really political, but I do know it, is just there to make Alberta look like they can't make up their mind. They're going to follow, they're not going to follow. Divide and conquer, the usual plan. So thank you. I yield.
Thank you, Laura Jane. So Karen, I see you were on the list, but I don't see you anywhere. So I don't know, put your hand up so that you come forward. I've got two more hands up that we were having a discussion. So I'm going to go to Katika.
Hi, everybody. So what I also noticed they are doing is using, I'm quite sure they are monitoring what their real opposition, not political opposition, but opposition like us are doing and what words we are using. New kind of propaganda they are using is about 50-minute cities is, it's like living in a small town. It's small town mentality. It's nice to be in a small town. We are talking about small towns, but they are now abusing that word. The same they did with the word sovereign. So they are using our words and twisting them upside down to convince us. And as Laura Jane mentioned, to divide us, because someone may think or may trust them hearing these words, oh, it's like a small town, living in a small town. So they're totally trying to confuse people. Another thing, these initiatives, corrupt initiatives happen in the cities where there were rigged elections, like Edmonton and Calgary, because we had these tabulators and it's quite easy to manipulate them, to manipulate the votes. So obviously these are the minions of Justin Trudeau and WEF in these cities as mayors. So that's what I want to say. Thanks.
Thanks, Katika. I think Karen will have more to say about that. We have some additional information in regards to the agenda at the municipal level. Gilbert, please go ahead.
I don't want to take up too much space because I know I'm sure Karen has a lot of important things to say, but I was just wanted to add to the discussion we've been having. We narrowly escaped here in Toronto. I live in Toronto, and we narrowly escaped having a smart city kind of neighborhood developed by Google itself. They took over a huge piece of land and they were intending on building a smart city kind of like as a model for larger cities. And fortunately, there was a huge pushback and Google kind of quietly went away with their tail between their legs, but that was very close. And the other thing is that, over the last, 10 years, the city's been building bike lanes on every main street, like let's build more bike lanes. And at first we thought, oh, wow, that's so great. It feels so much safer now to ride our bicycles when we're going downtown. But now I'm like, holy shit, they're cutting off, they're just, cutting off the car access to the main streets by increasing the bike lanes. And bike lanes were like in the winter, nobody's riding. I mean, you might see 1 or 2 bicycles on these bike lanes. So really, they've been at it for quite a long time. And the third thing is that my wife and I looked into Ontario. How many cities in Ontario are signed up for these 15-minute cities? Well, it is quite a list. And they're like small to medium-sized cities that have signed up for this. And I thought, well, where are these cities getting the money to turn themselves into these 15-minute cities? Because you need infrastructure, you need ways to, you got to reconfigure your traffic and where are these small cities getting the money? So I'm really suspicious, like, is there money coming from the UN or from the WEF directly into the city's budgets to kind of get these 15-minute cities going? I'm just curious about that. And that's all I have to say. Thanks.
I wouldn't surprise me at all. It's always about follow the money. Somebody's funding it. And usually whenever I follow the money, it's usually a foundation. Like if you look at the 15-minute city agenda, there's all these other sort of foundations that are driving it. But then you dig down, who are their partners? Who are their funders? And it's like this big circle chain of funding that's going on to make it look like it's grassroots, but really it's being driven from a central place. And then in regards to your comment about bike lanes, I have heard reports that it makes it difficult for ambulances to get to buildings with the bike lanes. That someone, I forget who it was specifically, that said they had to literally walk to the ambulance. They couldn't even be carried out to the ambulance. So anyway, thank you for that, Gilbert. Okay, Jennifer, we'll take you one more, then we've got to get back to
I'll be
Karen.
brief. No, I'm in Toronto
Thank
too.
you.
And actually I've seen since the beginning of the bike lanes, and you're totally right, Gilbert, about the bike lanes, because actually it is very rare that bikes go down those bike lanes on the main street, and it could all easily be down on adjacent streets that aren't main streets. So there's definitely an agenda to shut down the downtown of Toronto in particular. So you're absolutely right. And, you know, everything that all of you are saying about, you know, how it does have to come down to local for people to refuse to go ahead with this. I think most of you know that they tried this. I think they tried this decades ago in Canberra, Australia. They actually shut it down to make it like a 15-minute city, but it didn't work, and everybody rebelled against it, and it collapsed. But, you know, times have changed, and I think people, you know, there's more than just hypnotic suggestion that's being fed into society right now. When you actually start to look at the history of what they've been planning and how they've been planning it, you know, you learn about the MK Ultra and all this kind of stuff, and you realize, whoa, this stuff goes really deep. So, but it does, ultimately, it comes down to a local community refusing to comply. And in the end, it's like, what's left anyway? So actually, the dumbest thing, I think, but hey, I guess they see through it, but is when you take away food from people, you will get a huge rebellion. And for them to start attacking our food supply and our food sources, it's going to wake up a lot of people, and they may disagree on a lot of topics with us, but everybody wants food on their table, and they want to be able to afford it. And that is going to be in that start of the whole French Revolution. And we're going to have something big happening here too. Anyways, enough said, because I think we're all very much on the same page. I look forward to tonight's agenda. Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer. And now I will return you to your regularly scheduled programming. Back to Karen. Welcome back, Karen.
Thank you, Sandra. Yeah, I don't think they want me talking about this topic at all. So crazy. I'm not too sure where I left off. I think I was talking about, well, everyone breathing in life force energy. And I want to speak again into what Jennifer was sharing, because yes, it is at a local level. And I think that everyone else here that was sharing prior to me getting back on here was that is where the solution lies, right? The solution is within ourselves. And as we move forward, they're going to be creating so much fear, and we really need to learn how to really process that fear. I wanted to showcase a few videos, but unfortunately I'm not able to tonight. I just uploaded a new update on my computer, on my laptop, because it wasn't allowing me to have any space. So I cleared up some space, but for some reason it's not allowing me to share. So I'll have to figure that out. But I wanted to share with you about, I think Gilbert mentioned about Amazon, but they have these Amazon vehicles that the drivers of Amazon are having to drive in, and the car, I wanted to showcase it to you because the car actually watches everything she does. I'm not too sure how many of you have seen that, right? So the car knows when her seatbelt is unbuckled. Her car knows when she puts her hand up to her face. And if she does this, or any Amazon driver does this, they get I'm not too sure what they called it, but it's like a ding off of their driver's certificate, because the computer, the AI program in the vehicle thinks that she's talking on her phone, and that's against Amazon law. Everything that they do in those vehicles is on camera. So that's where they're taking us, right? Then I'm not too sure if you've seen the video with that guy from Walmart. It's a town in Ontario. I can't remember the name of the town, but they have now created, all the food is behind these glass doors, and they're all have sensors. So the digital ID is in this Walmart store in Ontario. And yeah, he's just walking through. Yeah, he's swearing at the end, but it's quite humorous in regards to, he knows what's happening, but he knows that so many people have no idea what's coming for them. And then there's a man in court. I will attempt to share these next week, but there's a man in court, and I want to just share this with you because I do believe this is the solution. Is where he is in court with a judge, and he is standing in his sovereignty as a living man. And he says, "You are not in my jurisdiction. You do not have authority over me." And the judge, is not listening to him, of course. And she continues, but he continues standing in his sovereignty, and she eventually walks out. So there's more and more of that happening. And we need to see that. We need to witness that, to say, yes, this is how we're going to win, right? This is how we're going to really move forward. I don't agree with, he does yell at the judge, and I don't agree with that. I think that we still need to, be calm and courageous and really be in our peaceful non-compliance way of being. However, it's just a really powerful way to know that this is happening in the courtrooms. And the judge walks out, and when the judge walks out, it means that you are free, and he walks out. I do believe that as we're moving forward, we need to begin practicing that as well. So those who are becoming a private member within Life First Canada, this is something that we really want to start practicing. And we want to create a script where we all are either practicing in front of a friend, and that friend is pretending to be an authority figure, whether it's a police officer, whether it's a public servant, whoever it is. We need to begin practicing these words of sovereignty, so that when the time comes, we know exactly what to say, and we are in our self-mastery as well. And going back to the video that I wanted to share about the guy in Walmart in Ontario, just seeing those doors with the food behind them, and you're not able to get to the food, that can bring up a lot of fear. And as we move forward, this is going to be a really big topic of discussion. I've talked about this before, but they know that there are going to be people that are saying no to digital ID, and their programming is all about how can we make more people say yes to digital ID. How they're going to do it? They are going to now be speaking to those who have addictions. If you have addictions to certain foods, you're going to most likely say yes to the digital ID. So this is where we need to really become clear, have so much clarity within ourselves. What addictions do I have in my life? And I'm talking about food addictions. And I'm not talking about where you are maybe aware that you have a food addiction. I'm talking about maybe it's that can of Coca-Cola. I don't drink Coca-Cola. Maybe it's those Doritos. That it is the sugar addiction. It is the salt addiction. And they're putting chemicals in these foods to make people addicted so that the moment you feel hungry, you think that you're actually hungry for food, when in actuality, what you're experiencing is not hunger at all. It's you're experiencing an addiction, and your body saying, hey, let's go to the fridge and get this food. Let's go to the fridge and get this kind of food. So it's your body is actually craving a poison, and many foods are designed to make you into an addict. And so these are parts of a conversation that we need to have in the future in regards to health and well-being as we move forward, because they're going to be pushing every agenda they can so that you are saying yes to digital ID, so that you will not be without, right? And so that's something that we really need to focus on in the future. There is another video that I found, and it's with Harrison Ford. It's a clip from a Hollywood movie. And I thought it was so relevant because, and I cannot remember what movie it is, but he's talking about how they did a study in Africa and India about a free and peaceful society. And they discovered that if there was towns and villages that had a maximum of 500 people, that town could stay in the realm of peace and joy and harmony. Anytime you got past the 500 mark, then all of a sudden humanity would go into egos, and there would be a separation, a conquer and divide. A separation would occur. And so that's how the government systems were being created, because we believed we could not look after ourselves, that we needed to be protected by our own villagers, by our own friends and family. So again, this is a mind control program that they've been creating. The clip in this movie is really, really good. It's too bad I can't share it. So he goes to show in the movie that the government will be controlling every single human being on this earth moving forward in a very short time. So of course, we know movies are all about them showing us where they're taking us. Right now, we live in two realities. We have one foot in what we call the collective, and we have one foot in the new earth. So the collective mind, which is what I call below the line, I mentioned this last week when we had our prosperity mindset. I was showcasing the freedom frequency chart. And below the line is the collective mind. And this is also known as the dungeon programming. If you've taken my Together We Rise course, you've heard me say this before. The dungeon programming is a set of collective coded beliefs that are that a large body of souls have assumed as reality. And we've witnessed this, especially in the last 3 years. And they believe whatever the news tells them in that collective below the line, in that dungeon programming. So they believe that they need to vote in their next master. They believe whatever the medical establishment tells them. They believe that the news is real, and whatever they're told from the government or health organizations that they must follow. So that dungeon programming is that the majority of the human race are trapped and controlled by an artificial intelligence system. And if someone is in this false reality, again, below the line, I mean, we all have moments where we're below the line. I'm talking about the collective as we know it, and out there who have just taken the shots, and they just are, they believe that we're all conspiracy theorists. The other reality is the awakened individual, which is you, right? Which is what I call above the line. And it's here that you begin to journey within and really activate our energy field. So your life force energy field is full of data. And this, as we begin to do our own inner work, right? Our own soul work, our mental, emotional mastery as we move through this whole program, it becomes our armor. And now you become the observer of the collective field below. The most difficult of tasks we have here is mastering our thoughts and our judgment of the outer world. Because the more that we are going to be witnessing in these 15-minute cities, I think Chris Sky is really focused on Edmonton right now and waking up the people of Edmonton. And so he was showcasing about, it's a company called Signify.com. So Signify.com is a part of the WEF, and they are a lighting company. So they bought out Philips, and they are replacing 46,000 light bulbs in Edmonton, on the Edmonton streets. And all these light systems, these LED light systems, all have sensors in them. And I wanted to showcase that website to you as well tonight. So these things we're going to be witnessing. And so we need to really clarify within ourselves, are we below the line? Are we in fear? Or are we above the line and allowing ourselves to be the observer? Because if we get trapped in the fear, right, that's where they have control over us. And that's where we start moving over here and making the incorrect choices that are fear-based choices. And we really need to hold our power, to be strong within our soul power moving forward. And because we are going to be challenged on every level. So again, we need to practice this moving forward. It's those who are seeking to stand up and say, you know what, I want to be a part of the change. I'm not just going to be on a Zoom call. I'm going to be out there and speaking my truth in, of course, a peaceful, non-compliance manner, and just making those changes necessary in our own communities right now. It's so important. Okay. Questions, comments, please raise your hands again. Let's have an open forum discussion as we move forward. Yes, we're going to actually be creating a sovereignty class, Frank. Yes, it's basically a freedom mindset workshop that we're creating, because it really involves us letting go of the voting system, believing that we need a provincial government, really stepping into what private memberships truly are and how powerful they are for businesses and especially for towns. So Laura Jane's been doing a lot of homework and research in regards to towns, because towns really are asking for the PMAs now as well. So, okay, Frank, go ahead.
For saying that you will be offering one of them classes. It's going to be pretty handy. I just want to make a quick point real quick that I did put a website to the Government of Canada where all the cities that are registered and the grants, I just put it in the chat there, about 10 messages up. I just want to let you know that. So there is a Canadian source and people can see that it is real. And with that, I yield.
Thank you so much, Frank. Appreciate you. Excellent. Hello, Rick.
I was wondering who the heck is going to enforce this? Is Klaus going to come over here and tell everybody to do this, or what?
Actually, every mayor in every town has been given the agenda, and they have their global leaders, sustainable development global leaders that are going to be pushing the agenda in every town and every city. So the council members have already bought into this years ago. This has been a program that's been available for so long now. We're just all kind of catching up to it. Thank you, Rick. Hi, Gilbert.
Hi, yeah, just I think I want to second what you said about how this program has been for a long time. They've altered the language of it over time. They started out with a different kind of language that sounded reasonable to everybody at the time, and slowly. And Rick was saying, well, who's going to implement this? Well, that's why they've been developing AI to such a high degree, because there's not going to be a person, pushing the button. They're counting on AI to control, 99% of it. I keep telling people, like on Twitter, which I shouldn't be on Twitter, but I keep, people saying, we got to vote for Pierre Poilievre. And I'm like, I really feel we're not going to vote our way out of this, especially on a national or a provincial level. I feel those voting systems are really not rigged in our favor at all. And I feel that all our power is going to come on the community level. We have to take back our towns. We have to take back our cities. We have to take it back on a local level. We have to get back to making decisions for ourselves on a local level, and just ignore, I don't know how to ignore the provincial and the federal thing, but for the first time in my life, I think I've decided I'm not going to vote anymore in any provincial.
Yay.
Because
Yeah.
the minute you vote, you're saying I agree with the game. And and I've had people give me a rebuttal, say, well, if you don't vote, you can't complain. And I said, well, that's not true. I can complain plenty and not vote. But I really feel our attention and our focus has to be on our towns and our cities, and taking back our towns and our cities, and getting back our sovereignty. I'm starting to use that word. I'm really ignorant, and I'm so looking forward to learning more about that too. Thank you.
Thank you, Gilbert. Yes, that's what Life First Canada is all about. We're here to educate everyone on how to really unplug from all these systems that we've been indoctrinated in for decades. And knowing that the whole political system, it's not even, it has never been about the people. Everyone that's been voted in, whether it's a premier, even the mayors of large cities, presidents, have all been selected and groomed from the elite class forever, right? They've been a part of this whole satanic ritual piece. And so they are the controllers. You've probably seen, like everyone here has probably seen in a movie where it's like Mission Impossible, or, any of those spy movies where they have someone in an apartment next door and the person rings the doorbell or something, or knocks on the door, and they open the door and it's a neighbor, and oh, here's some chocolate cake. We wanted to welcome you to the neighborhood. And meanwhile, that person has been a spy and has been living there for 5 years, 10 years, waiting for this moment to take this person out of the game, kind of thing, right? Well, those actors, right, in the movies are showcasing what has been going on for centuries in this realm. People have been in place, in position, in these high positions for a very long time, waiting for the day to press the button and, okay, now it's your turn. Now you are here to follow through with your assignment. And that can be a mayor's assignment. It can be a premier's assignment. It can be a prime minister's assignment, but they're all here to follow through with their own agenda because they were given it decades ago when they were in university. So we know that their program is to take us out. But again, as you mentioned, all of you here, we know the power is in the town. The power is in the community. So to me right now, what I want to do this summer and the spring is to travel through Alberta and see how many towns are here that are not indoctrinated yet into the 15-minute city agenda, because those that are not indoctrinated, those are the towns that they want to destroy so that everyone comes into the towns. That's what they're doing with all the train wrecks in the US, right? They're trying to get all those people to now leave the towns and go into the cities. So we know that as you begin to wake up the people in these small towns, then we get to build community there. And then we get to remind them how they can be prosperous and how they can stand their ground. If you are a sheriff in a town in the US, a sheriff has more power than any CIA agent, FBI agent, president, or anything. Nobody can touch that town if the sheriff says, get out, you need to get out. So David Straight teaches this, and I'm sure it applies here in Canada as well. So once we begin to know our power to say no, like that guy did in the, in the court system with the judge, and that's happening all the time, right? So we have that power, and I'm so grateful for everyone being here, and we're all on board with knowing that we don't need to vote in that system anymore, and that the power is with the people. Jennifer, yay, so glad to see you here.
Hi, great to be here. Great points everybody's bringing up, and certainly in the sovereignty classes is teaching everybody what it means to be sovereign, because actually when you write your name in capital letters, you are giving yourself over to the corporation. All of these little subtleties, when you check off a box because you're trying to access something, you just gave it up. I mean, these are things to teach, not just personal empowerment, which we all need to talk about. And I think a lot, can help everybody start to feel their power and actually start to appreciate that they're here right now, rather than wish that they could go and hide in the bush somewhere, because you're here for purpose. I mean, I always say this too, you chose to be here and experience what we're experiencing right now in this meeting, in your community, and actually looking for information about all of this. As far as who's going to enforce all of this, 15-minute city, I got news for you guys, your next door neighbor. Think about who was enforcing the digital, or not digital, but actually masking, and who was enforcing it all. It was our neighbors, our family, our friends, right? Who aren't quite awake. And were they ever taking offense? They were actually fighting with us, right? So they've got the boots on the ground, and it's not just, yes, you've got AI, but AI is just putting all of this up. It's a little bit of kind of the foundation of it, but the actual boots on the ground are people around us. And that's that movable middle we always talk about. It's a little bit like Jell-O. Everyone thinks because it's a movable middle, we're going to influence them all, but actually it is like Jell-O, and it's going to wobble backwards and forwards, and whichever is the easiest path of least resistance, it will follow. So that's our job, is to make our path the path of least resistance. And this 15-minute city thing, I think, is a big mistake to try and contain them. I certainly see, and if any of you have been traveling much, you can see how difficult they are making airline travel right now, and train travel, and they lose your luggage consistently. Your plane's delayed, way more than it used to. Granted, we have issues with the pilots, etc., but there's an agenda behind it, I feel quite strongly, to dissuade you from just wanting to do that kind of thing. But yeah, everything about it, and as you were talking about, what they've been feeding us. And it's interesting, some time ago, and I read a lot, or did before COVID, now I'm kind of into everything about COVID, but I said to my husband, I said, there's no such thing as fiction. All of these stories people are writing is a conglomerate of information, of life experiences, and maybe how they timeline it creates fiction. And then I started to look at science fiction, and I went, oh, now once we realize that we're living in this dual reality, I went, oh, same thing applies to science fiction. There is no such thing as science fiction. They're feeding us all of this information. And when we sit back and complacently watch it and engage in it, we are giving our consent. So a lot of it is shutting down. And I think they are making a big mistake. I think they're going to lose a lot of people by closing in these cities. I think it'll become popular for a while. My biggest concern is the younger generation, because they're the ones that they kind of don't really want to work that much, right? Not all of them. I mean, we've all got kids that are super achievers, but we also have, I see a lot around us of people that, just want an easy route, and they've fed that into society, right? To undereducating them. A lot of them can't even write anymore, right? I mean, all of these things they've done, they can't do mathematics. Funny that Canada too, we've all got kids that when they were in school, and the math program, books, and you go, this is ridiculous. and they were actually using books that the teacher wrote. Like, I'm going, what are they doing? This is part of the curriculum. And now, of course, those that can do it are shifting them back to the old math forms. But, you know, mathematics is the essence of our universe, right? So they're screwing all that up for our kids. Anyway, this is our job to do this, and it's a very exciting time for us. And, you know, we never felt more alive. Look at how many wonderful people we're meeting across the country, across the world, like everywhere. It's wonderful. And we're all talking like we're having a neighborhood meeting here. And it really is, right? It's very cool. I wouldn't have met you guys if if we weren't engaged in this. It's fascinating. There's no question we all have low times, but I think the biggest currency that we can have going forward, yes, we want to have, you know, create communities where we've got, you know, food supply, etc. But each one of you has a definitive talent that you've worked most of your life working and building. Don't lose it through COVID, okay? A lot of us have got so caught up in COVID that you kind of push that aside. And we have all sorts of excuses, and they're legitimate excuses. But make sure you go back to what you know best, because that's going to be your currency going forward. So don't drop it. I mean, I'm trying to learn, you know, of course, all sorts of other aspects of the new kind of, it's new to us in North America because I grew up with allopathic medicine. I'm a dental surgeon, and I got kind of been really involved, but I'm really honing in my skills, because we all have something everybody needs, and we're going to trade it and use it, and we're going to help each other with it. So please don't push that back because you just think you're losing everything. You all have special talents. You wouldn't be as strong and as powerful as you are to be here right now. So like when you come off this meeting, think about what it is that got you through life and got you into this meeting tonight, that you had that much power and resourcefulness to know what's going on. There's no question there's something special about all of us, that we weren't affected by this hypnotism, MK Ultra, whatever. I think it's far deeper and more powerful than hypnotism, but it's not affecting us. So, you know, when we start to figure out what it is that makes us different, we may be able to turn that around and help give it back to the other people that haven't reached that talent yet. Anyways, thank you for letting me talk so much.
Beautiful, Jennifer. Thank you. And yes, we all chose to be here. We're all pioneers. Love it. Terry, go ahead. Hi, Terry. You're muted.
Sorry,
It's okay.
what you were saying before, I mentioned before that we have to go to the local level, which you did, and that's a great thing. And also, we have to understand that AI is actually the Antichrist, and that's what they're pushing on us is AI. So we have to understand that, and we don't accept it. And that's why at the local level, we stop this 15-minute cities, because that's what they're implementing is AI. Like you mentioned with Walmart, another thing I brought up, I just seen a video, Ford Motor Company with the new vehicles. They can create a problem with your vehicle if you're behind on payments, or if you're not complying, they can shut it down. You got to take it to a dealership to get it fixed. You either comply or they don't fix it, or they repossess it. We don't need to go there, and that's where it's all headed. That's where everything is headed. And a video I saw here the other day, this AI has been for 300 billion years, and it's trying to take over our 12th universe. This is a 12th universe, and it's trying to destroy it, and we have to stand up and say no. It's not the alpha system, it's the omega system. So with that, I yield.
Beautiful, Terry. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Gilbert, go ahead.
I just wanted to add about this 15-minute city thing, since that's our main topic. It's very easy to debunk their plan. They want us to stop using our cars. Well, have we seen any new high-speed passenger rail lines being built? Have we seen beautiful transit, like long distance bus routes, for example. I tried to get my granddaughter to come and visit me from Sudbury last year, and there was a problem with her ticket, and I called the bus company and I spoke to somebody in Texas about it. It's like, it made no sense at all. They're not actually putting any effort into creating a transportation system that would allow us to abandon our cars. Otherwise, you know, I might be able to sort of buy into it if they were spending money on that infrastructure, but they're not at all. Even on a local level, even the transit system here in Toronto is actually pretty messed up, and it's not easy to get around. Oh, we have a kind of system, but it's not very efficient. And so if they were serious about that, I think there would be much more effort being placed on that. But I think really what they want us to do is to stay home. They
Yeah,
don't want us to go anywhere.
exactly.
Forget, you know, to the other side of town. Like I rent a commercial space. I'm semi-retired, but I still have a workshop, and I rent a commercial space, and it's a 25-minute drive from my house. What am I going to do when that comes around? That's ridiculous. I can't even get there by TC. It's actually in the middle zone where it's like it's a kind of a non space. So it doesn't make any sense. And they're not actually working on fixing that at all. And I noticed another curious thing is that there's a lot of older cars on the road.
Yes.
I myself just bought a 2005 Volvo.
Yeah.
It's in really good condition, but I bought it because it doesn't report back to the mothership.
Yeah.
There's no Bluetooth, there's no screen, there's nothing. And I notice a lot of people are doing that. They're sort of going back, and old cars are now actually really hard to come by because they're in demand. People want them. That's just an observation. That's it for me. I'm out of this.
Okay. Thank you, Gilbert. Thank you. Yes, by 2030, no more cars, no more planes. Everyone's staying at home. That's what their agenda is all about. Yeah. But you know what? I think that because they have their agenda, we have our own agenda, and humanity is going to be rising up spiritually, where we are going to be raising our own consciousness, and because as we do, we're collectively going to be, when I say collectively, I'm talking about the spiritual collective, is that we're going to be experiencing a completely different reality. It's just like I shared this before, is that when I would go into a Safeway or Sobeys or any of the grocery stores, and I would be walking through, and the people who had masks on, they didn't even see me because I'm in a completely different reality than they are. And so I think that that's what's going to be happening for us. We're just going to be co-creating an amazing reality for all of us, love-based, heart-based, compassion for all. And we're just going to be creating our own Atlas Shrugged our reality. Sibylla, hello from Vancouver.
Yes. Well, I have a series of comments. One of them is about what Jennifer said about mathematics. I think that the other thing that is missing here, because I have a son who's now 40, and I was actually, born and raised in Chile, South America. And we had 3 years of history. We studied history of our country, history of European history, then South American history, so, and I think, personally, I think that history is as important as mathematics or not, because otherwise we keep making the same mistakes. I was reading this actually through one of the post guys that I read, one of the posts. He was inviting us, he's sort of anti-capitalist guy who's pagan and sacred. I love what he writes. But anyways, he was inviting us to read, and I started reading this book called Caliban and the Witch. And this is a Italian feminist who goes through the history explaining how the role of the women, changed during the transition from the medieval to the capitalist, because this was a slow transition. And what was wonderful to hear was how many heretics, so-called heretic groups there were, like from the 13th to the 15th century, thousands and thousands and more than thousands of women were burned as witches. But these heretic groups, in these heretic groups, actually women had the same rights as men. They preached, they did, and the Cathars, among many, the Cathars are the best known in southern France. But anyways, that was one of the wonderful things to read. It's encouraging. The other thing I wanted to say, which I think is really important, is that it's good to have, like, we're talking about the spiritual, vibrations and things, but I just recently did the bridge workshop, and I think, like them, that we have to do things. We have to get active. We have to follow up, because as long as we just float above, all of this, I think that's really important. It's fundamental, but not enough. And so my invitation is to see, I, unfortunately, in Vancouver, I don't have a community here, because I had two communities before COVID, and that was Doctors Without Borders and the Green Party, the municipal and the provincial. And I left both of them because of the issues with the vaccine, right? Absolutely. I left not before saying to everybody, I wrote to Doctors Without Borders about the Nuremberg Code and things like that. I didn't leave silently, but I had to leave. So my question is, I no longer have a community here, because I moved from Montreal, where I still have a community 10 years ago, and the only communities I had here were those, and they've disappeared. So I'm looking actually for a group, a community where I can start doing something, if you want, a little more practical in the way of, like in the direction of the bridge or things like that. Because I practice, meditation. I've been practicing for 30 years. I've also had a spiritual experience. My teacher actually says that collectively, together, when we are together in retreats, we are way more spiritually powerful than individually. And I believe that. So, I'm going to leave it here. I just want to find other souls here in my community. Thank you.
Is there anyone here from Vancouver? I'm going to be in Vancouver in August, so I'm going to come and visit you. There's Norma Jean is from Surrey. There's a couple here. Amelia's from Richmond. Christina lives in Vancouver as well.
I'll talk to you guys before I go out, because I'm going out to Vancouver and Victoria and around there. So it might be nice for us to get together. And Sylvia, and yeah, why wouldn't we, right? And Sylvia, all of those groups you left are all they're all linked with globalists. So there's a reason you left, however painful it was. And change, you never know why you're going through it when you go through it, but it takes reflection on it. And often sometime later, and you look back and go, wow, there was a reason that this happened. So
I totally agree with you. It's Sybil or Sibylla and not Sylvia. But
I'm
yeah,
sorry, Sibylla. Oh, I like that name. That's nice. That's pretty. Thank you. Thanks for
I agree with
correcting.
you. I left them knowingly and consciously. I chose that.
But I'll talk with all of you when, because I'm going out for Canada Health Alliance meeting. And also I realize this, because I don't get out there that often, that I'd really like to connect with all these people, and it just makes it that much more powerful, doesn't it? So we'll do that.
Beautiful. Yes. And Sibeli, you're right. This is one of the reasons why we had Ray and Rebecca and everyone at the Activate Us team create the workshop, because it's so powerful, because it really allows you to step into taking action. And how can we step into the doingness of life? Yes, we definitely need to prepare ourselves mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. That is so key, because those invisible realities of who we are make up the physical reality. So as we move forward, this is going to be about all of us stepping into new skill sets and talents and passions that we may have kind of buried and have forgotten about. But this is how we're going to be serving our new community, is really stepping into what talents do I have that I've forgotten about? What dreams have I kind of like put to the side and now I want to step into on a practical level? So thank you for bringing that up, Sibylla. I do believe that they will be offering the Bridge workshop again very soon. So for those who haven't taken it, it's just, excuse me, it's a great way for anyone to step into the reminder of, hey, I got some amazing skills that I can use in the new community moving forward. Thank you. Thank you.
Tools, just tools, more tools.
Absolutely. Yes. Sandra, go ahead.
Okay, so I have my little list of notes that I've been taking, but I wanted to point out that I have put a PDF in the chat. It's called the Voluntarism Handbook. I watched a video this week with he's not really not the author of it. It's a collection of quotes and other writings of other authors, but it's voluntarism is more or less kind of, there's a lot of synonyms: libertarianism, anarchism, but voluntarism. So it's a concept. I think it's important for us to, I tend to come from this field of thought that there's the philosophical side of things, of understanding. Yes, it's an aspect of spirituality too, understanding what natural law is, etc. But I think things like these writings can also help get the larger context of what sovereignty is. And they're still kind of, there's the group of people that are freedom fighters, but they're still operating within the existing system. And somehow they think that the existing system can be saved. And then there's of course, we know anarchy means without government or without masters, whereas they've made sound like without government, that somehow that's a bad thing, right? That, oh my God, we'll never survive without government. Anyway, that link, I also put the link, if you don't want the PDF, if you don't want to download it because it's over 2 megabytes, you can go to the next link that I placed, and that'll take you to the page where you can get the PDF yourself. Jennifer had mentioned the mind control. That's an area of interest of mine. I've done even some of my own creative work has been on the idea of mind control and psychology and things like that. There's a whole bunch of recent videos that I've watched, and we can't share them all on our social club. So I'm thinking of starting Sandra's video list that I'm going to be putting in the social club Telegram thread. And it's just recommended videos that I've watched. There's some really good, informative videos on how the mind control evolved back to the beginnings of, and it's fascinating to see how it was funded by the foundations, the Carnegie Foundation, the Rockefeller Foundations, et cetera. It's always that follow the money, Gilbert, right? Anyway, so I'm going to watch for that. I'm going to put together a list of that.
And
someone mentioned, sorry?
you put the list for the members in at least, or for everybody?
Well, it's we'll put the Telegram link for. A lot of our communication happens in Telegram. It's just the easiest way. I mean, we do have, I can get Karen to maybe include it in a newsletter coming up as well, once I have it put together. But otherwise, Telegram is kind of a quick way of people sharing information.
Yeah,
So
I don't
we
know
can-
how
we
to
can-
get to your Telegram.
Okay, well, we'll make sure that we get those links in for you, Sibylla.
Sandra,
we-
can I ask you something?
I believe they're on the website.
Yes.
too. They are accessible on the website. Yes, Jennifer.
Just a quick question. And with some of the videos you're talking about, and I've seen some great videos and I went to share them and they get taken down. Can we possibly talk about maybe burning some of these so that we don't have to depend on them staying up on it, because they're taking them down from BitChute and all of them. They're going into all of the media, not just mainstream, because there was some really informative ones I would have loved to read forward, and you've probably seen some of them too. And I went to share it, and actually all the information that I was trying to get forward, and especially the stuff on, like you mentioned, MK Ultra or something like that, when it's very, very sensitive information. We should talk about trying to burn the video and copy it, so we can copy it and have it ourselves. Then we can share it, and that would be an amazing source, because a lot of people too are saying, and certainly Rob Malone and his wife Jill said, and we've talked about it a lot, is books. Don't just take everything online, because if any of you know, back in Egypt in the ancient times, they burned down the libraries of Alexandria, where they had all of their information, and they burned Ephesus. Everything got burned down, and all of the wonderful resource information was destroyed on purpose. So and think about all the book burnings that have happened, right? During, big uprisings where the government has tried to flatten them. But it's a good idea for us to burn the videos, and for people, when you want to read a book and it's something that's very impactful that you want to keep as, recognition of what is going on, order the book or get the book. All right.
Sure. In regards to a couple of the movies right now, they're one of them's on YouTube. This is probably the video that I would start with. It's a 3-hour documentary, but it's worth it. Watch it in pieces. It's called Minds of Men, and it's the most detailed deep dive into the whole program, who the scientists were, where their funding came from, how they operated, the tragedies that they did. So the Minds of Men, that's on YouTube. I can see if I can find that. And then actually some of the other ones are on Tubi TV, which is a public platform. It's a very popular app. And they've got this massive sort of disclosure library of stuff, how it has a logarithm or algorithm that when you start watching certain things, then it starts pumping all of these suggestions to you. But I've got a couple of recommendations there as well. So if they're on Tubi, I don't know that they're going to be censored, but definitely Minds of Men, The Minds of Men is the first to start. But I will get that list together. It's something I've been thinking of doing. I haven't yet. I've more been just a viewer of the videos right now, but I didn't want to overwhelm Social Club by bringing them all into Social Club, because then it would be an endless thing of, so we're trying to do positive, uplifting things as well that are educational. So I wanted to comment on the idea of schools and the homeschooling. I just noticed the Alberta budget just came out, and they've got funding for 58 new schools that everybody's cheering, but of course they're just building more indoctrination camps. That's just my comment. Also, in regards to this idea of taking back the power at the community level, there was a report. I don't know if you're familiar with the Reese report. He appears on InfoWars. They're usually pretty hard-hitting, short little stories, but he did one today on the committees of safety, which were the original prior to the American Revolution. When the British were bringing in the taxes, the colonists got together and they formed several different committees in local areas. There was the committee of, there's 3 different ones. One of them was the Committee of Safety. And some of you that have been with Life Force Canada for quite a while will remember when at one point the Committee of Safety, and that involved the sheriffs and things like that. So my point being is that it is becoming more mainstream. It's on InfoWars to their 1 million followers. And then there was also, I think it's going to be coming forward, Karen Hanna found the story on another Alberta community called Sangudo, and that they have been moving towards taking back their town. So we'll be getting that information out as well. And with that, I yield. That was my list. Thank you.
Yay, Sandra, that's a great idea for creating a list for everyone of great videos. Thank you. And yes, Jennifer, you're right. I think we have to find a way to burn everything so that, we have it all on file. Thank you. Thank you. Oleg,
Hey Karen, you
hello.
know, the more I hear about what's going on with these small 5 minute videos, reminds me of my past. Because I was grown up in a small town. Well, the town was with population 100,000 people, but all of the population lived in the area about like 10 by 10 kilometers, like say 15 square kilometers town. And we didn't depend on public transportation. We were easily walking through the town by foot or by bicycles. All supplies we depend on whatever we grow by ourselves, or if we missed anything, we bought stuff from the people's market where people sell their excess products. So I kind of start missing this style of life.
I get it.
I kind of feel like I failed to kind of move to the civilized country, which appeared to be not as like as promisable as it's supposed to be. Now we kind of better go back to those simple ways of living.
Yeah, we're going forward into simplicity and creating the life that our soul has been yearning for a very long time.
Yeah, very simple life, actually.
Absolutely, it is. Yes. Lovely. That's
Neil,
exactly what it's all
Neil,
about.
that's what we need. Just simple life.
Thank you, Oleg. I agree. I'm looking forward to that myself. Hi, Jennifer.
I still have my hand up. It's okay.
Oh, okay. No problem.
Probably talk again in a few minutes, but yeah, for now.
I think there was somebody in the chat, I can't remember who it was, but I'm going to be in Edmonton on April the 16th for the Health and Healing Conference. Yeah, April 16th. So if there's anyone in Edmonton, I would love to give you a big hug. I'll be letting everybody know prior to that too. So Irina, hello. Greetings.
Hello everyone, how are you doing today? Terry was talking about AI, and I wanna just comment on this because I learned myself about AI quite extensively. Well, Kim and also Marina Jacobi, if somebody familiar with her, talking about AI, and both of them talking about two different type of AIs. One of them is dark AI that running right now and used by Economic Forum, and another AI is sentient AI that used by different civilization to run civilizations. And the sentient AI, what is the difference between them? Sentient AI recognize the right of sentient being and acknowledge presence and will of sentient being, while dark AI override any rights and just do what it programmed to do. So it's just a little bit, and you can learn about this if you like. Marina Jacobi have a video on difference of this AI. And Marina Jacobi, by the way, she teaches how to switch, how to create your own reality and switch between different dimensions in more efficient way. So if somebody want more information, I can share, or just Google marinajacobi.com. She has a bunch of websites, she published book, and she teaches how to ascend faster, basically. Without Ail, this is what I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Rena is amazing. Sandra and the Media Forum, they actually showcased, I think it was 3 videos, correct, Sandra?
Yes, in the quantum manifestation series. And she has just recently updated her website, so she has all 6 seasons of quantum manifestation there. So I said you could get your PhD in manifestation if you wanted to watch all 36 videos or something. So
Thank you, Sandra. Hello, Carol.
Hi there. Thank you, Karen, for and everyone for all the work that you're doing. I just wanted to share something with you. I spent a good number of years in municipal administration. So what I'm going to say to you from my perspective is that the smart city idea has not been around that long in perhaps the smaller municipalities, because it used to be in municipalities that you were very focused on surveying the people. It wasn't about creating a bureaucracy, at least certainly from my perspective. And I worked in several different provinces and territories within Canada during the time I was with local government. But I also don't know if you're aware that in the late 70s and the early 1980s, there was a huge push and a huge pull to get people out of towns and villages into the big cities. And, you know, when I look at that, is collectively the people of the time bought into that, you know, the selling that life was much, much better if you moved to the city. So on the Canadian prairies, at least in Saskatchewan and Manitoba, there were over, 600 towns and villages that are no more because people left. And that was also about the same time that small farms disappeared and the corporations took over the farms. So it's, you know, when we look at it all, is in essence how collectively people have allowed all of this to evolve. And I mean, for me, I grew up on the Canadian prairies on a farm, and I questioned things from the time I was a little girl, even when the UFOs came and people thought that the farmer was nuts. You couldn't be things as UFOs. Well, there is. I mean, I actually went and looked at what was there without my parents knowing, but things like that did exist. So I mean, it's been around. Not necessarily have we all really seen it until recently, when it really went poof and it blew up in our faces. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Thank you, Carol. Yes, I agree with the smaller towns, or I think they're just becoming aware of it. But the agenda itself, because if I'm looking at the smaller towns in Alberta, once they have the training available to them, they are being showcased that this is for sustainability and climate change. So I do believe that the climate change piece has been pre-programmed. And that's the angle that they're working at for a lot of them.
And they've been working on that for years. I mean, you could look at it and say COVID was just a smoke.
Absolutely.
Climate change and climate change really is happening, but until all politicians and elites stop flying planes, then I'll believe it.
Exactly. I think there's quite a few areas in this realm where they showcase the sea level has not changed since like 1920. They have photos of 1920, and then they have photos of 2022, and the sea level is still the same.
And there's been ice ages if you go through history.
Yes.
Things do happen. So climate change does happen occasionally. Yes.
Yes, it's a creation. All of it is HARP and the creation of the control system. Thank you, Carol, for being here. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
I want to speak into. Yeah, I've seen on the 15, what is it called? It's Reject the 15-Minute City. It's a Facebook group. And they have people from all over Canada and I think from other countries too, but it's a very powerful conversation on Facebook. Well, thank you, Sandra, for sharing the link in the chat, or Karen,
Anything
Hannah,
else?
thank you.
Something else I'll tell you guys about, since we're kind of opening up everything, and I think I mentioned in the chat earlier, because we're throwing everything on the table now, you guys would be amazed at the scientific groups that I'm in, what a lot of them are starting to talk about. And I was in the Doctors for COVID Ethics group last week, and someone in the group started talking about aliens. And I went, this should be interesting to see, because it's so science focused and science oriented, and kind of black and white with certain things. I mean, they're exploring a lot of things, but not anything that's kind of tangentially takes you outside of the science realm. And it started up a whole hot debate about aliens and the tunnel in Switzerland, you know, when they had opened that new tunnel and all of the kind of Satanistic rituals. And then we had Astrid Steckelberg in the meeting started talking about how it was a portal and aliens been coming in there all the time. And, you know, they're all talking, all these people that are, you know, we've all really only talked about science a lot, and injecting more and more over time the spiritual element to inject a feeling, you know, to just push fear away and show people how we can all come together and talk about everything and try not to be scared about, you know, speaking your mind. But that was very interesting. So all of this comes into play, and the spiritual awakening that's really there, not for you to lose your grounding, but actually to give you your grounding and to give you your sense of sovereignty. Because as you awaken spiritually, you feel more powerful in yourself, right? So, I mean, there's definitely spiritualists out there that, you know, want to get home so they can escape into their spiritual world, but that's not what we're all talking about. I mean, that might be a lovely experience for some people, but that's not going to put food on your table and all these things. So the spiritual awakening, and there's so many people in many meetings, one after another. And I was even getting them calling me. I'm on a meeting, international meeting, and then someone's calling me from New Zealand, and they're all talking about the same thing. And I went, wow, there's something really big coming. And it is going to be something very different than what we've experienced. And this awakening is what's going to empower us to be able to stand up to it all. And I think a lot of it is going to come on that level just because of all the revelation too. I mean, look at how in the media it's so blatant. Well, to us, it's blatant because once you see it, you can't not see it anymore, right? But there's something very big coming down the pike. I do feel that we're, and I talk to all my colleagues across the world, and we do feel that I feel it's kind of a plateau now. And it is a time to kind of, it's like collect your firewood for the winter kind of thing. It's like to work all the things out that we're doing in groups like this one, because for the last year, everybody's been talking about the same thing. You know, the year before and the 2 years before that, one was information gathering, then collaborating, and then it was to strategize. But we are stuck in that mode. And I think there's a reason we are. And so that's why I say power up your own personal talent. Yes, build your spiritual and engage and talk openly with those that you know you can talk with, because whenever you're around people that have good energy, spiritual energy, it powers you up. You all know that too, right? And you go away feeling good, but you can actually feel your energy rising. So this is what we need to be doing right now. Because there is, and yes, Marburg, you know, and that's a bleeding disorder similar to Ebola, but in a flu version. So these things they're trying to push the agenda in places, but think about monkeypox too. I mean, it turned into a bit of a joke, okay? But it wasn't a joke what they were trying to push and how they declared it a pandemic and they tried to push it. So we're going to get a lot more of those coming out. But I think even that wobbly middle zone is not going to collaborate with this or go along with it because we're sick to death of being locked down, etc. But there's something else coming, and keep talking about it, because all of us, when you collectively talk together, we are going to realize what it is together. So just wanted to tell you about what I'm experiencing. And I'm involved in a lot of medical groups and all sorts of groups all over the world. And this is becoming a stronger, so it's making a group like this. It's you guys are going to be source for a lot of that good energy that people need. And so thank you for being here. And Karen, thank you for persevering and working so hard at helping keeping everybody going, and all of you too, because every one of you is doing amazing work. Even though we all feel we're not doing enough, everything's got its timing, and it's just meant to be this way. And what we think is taking a long time is a nanosecond universally. And remember, there's all of this that we're learning and we've known about for a long time, is the time travel and what time means. Our understanding of time, I think, is all messed up, and we're figuring all that out now. So
Beautiful. Thank you, Jennifer. Appreciate your words. And if you're stopping to Calgary, let me know.
I think it's around the time that you're traveling that I'm going to be in BC, but we'll talk together, because I think, all of us should organize to arrange to get together as much as we can, because I think.
Beautiful. Thank you. Throughout my life, I've never really called them aliens. I've always ever just called them my soul brothers and soul sisters. Because I know, right, we're all here to experience all realms of life. And because consciousness in this earth realm has been mainly in fear, if anyone's in the fear-based programming, the veils of the other realities are closed off. They do not allow for you to see beyond the 10% light spectrum. So once we all begin to release our fear and live more above the line in the divine mind of who we are, then all those realms, everyone is going to begin to see more, experience more, because we cannot be in fear to witness and be in the presence of another being that doesn't look like us. So it's going to be really important for us to be in that love vibration moving forward. Ryan.
Yeah, this whole 15-minute city idea, I just can't believe that they think they can even pull this off. It's unbelievable.
Oh, we didn't think they could pull off the whole COVID pandemic either.
Well, yeah, they had a gullible audience, I think. But this is going to be quite a difficult undertaking for them to try to pull this off. And we got to say, groups like this is great that we can come in here and make it as difficult as possible. And I would certainly encourage everybody, if you're you had that one guy in court saying, I'm whatever, sovereign, I'm a man, whatever, fight this every way that you can. Talk to the police. I would, on a regular basis, if I see a cop, I'll just go and talk to him. I'll ask him a few questions. And I'm not being aggressive or pushy or anything. I'll just ask. And they don't want to talk to me. I know, that's okay. And I'm I'm dealing with municipalities and provincial leaders, and you just throw this stuff out there and they know what's going on too. And they're not all in compliant with this. Same with the police. They see the writing on the wall. They know what's going on. This is going to be an incredible undertaking for them to even try to pull this off. Plus, with the massive awakening that's going on, I can't see it's even possible at all. So just encourage everybody, do everything you can, make it impossible. I yield.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you. Appreciate your words. Jennifer?
Yeah, you know what? Just talking more about the 15-minute cities. I don't think it will be a success, but I think you're going to have some communities that will thrive on it.
Mm.
And just like a Mormon community, and, you know, there'll be kind of fun places for us to go and visit.
Yes.
But I agree. And maybe they'll specialize in things just like, you know, the Mormon community does, right? They make great woodwork and
Mhm.
certain things that they, you know, some of the crops that they do. But it won't succeed. But we're going to go through a lot of struggles when they try to force it on us. And there will be anarchy. And I guess we just have to prepare for some of that. But I have to tell you, I was in the Galapagos about 15 years ago. And when I went to the Galapagos, I realized that Darwin's theory of evolution was a pile of bunk.
Yes.
And he based it on this, like, it's like, and, you know, you see some minor adaptations that creatures have had. But, you know, we all learn to adapt, you know, it's like, you know, when you move to a new house, you'll learn to adapt, you know, but it's a pile of bunk. And what you say about, you know, referring to aliens and what's empowering when people say they might be fearful of it, and know that the military can do holographic images in the sky and make it look like you've got there, because they're talking about alien invasions or something, and whatever it is that they need to scare people with. But whether they can create it or not, because apparently they've been interacting with aliens in the deep state military, they're interacting with hundreds of different groups of aliens. They're part of an international federation. Hello.
A decade.
Welcome to Star Wars, everybody.
Yeah.
But, you know, if there are aliens, they've been here all along, and life seemed to be okay for us, you know, ups and downs, whatever, up until we kind of had this duality that all of a sudden we live in two different worlds at the same time, which is kind of interesting. I always thought it was another planet somewhere else. I didn't realize it just kind of went boom, and I was there, and we're living it right here on Earth. But there you go. Forget time travel. You're living in two places at once. But if aliens have been there, they've been here all along. So you know, the guy down the street seems kind of queer, and you think that maybe he is. And I use that word purposefully because I don't know what that word means anymore. But so what? So if you're fine with him before, why are you scared of him now? And how do we know where we came from? So you know what? Open it up. It doesn't really matter, and welcome it, because just like there's good, bad, and ugly of humanity, there is of anything else that exists around us. So, you know, bring it on, right, guys?
Yes, we're not the only ones in the universe. That's for sure. Thank you, Jennifer. Sandra.
Well, I just thought I'd talk a little bit about the smart cities pushback. And I know Oxfordshire in the UK was the first place that really was kind of announced, and the first one that kind of was on the map. And they were literally actually had the blockades set up in their cities. And then they recently had a big protest, but I think I can't remember her name, Katie. It started to get a lot of coverage and a lot of pushback and a lot of criticism. So the two counselors put out a little video to push back themselves. And it's kind of funny because they're going, no, we're not setting up prisons, and no, you're not being restricted, and stop saying we're taking away this and that. Then they said, what we're really doing is this, this, and this, and you will be fined if you do go beyond your allotted times. Like as if that was just all okay. Like their justification for it, or you know, the way that they approached it was quite funny, in that they went, no, we're not doing all of this, but you will be fined. Anyway, I just thought there is pushback happening. They don't get it.
I thought there was a lot of rebellion there, and they're breaking down the barriers. And
They are now. Yes, this was prior to. They put out this video prior to the protest, and then the barriers started to be knocked down. And I think that's one of the reasons that they've tried to put out this video to say, oh, calm down. It's really not as bad as you think it is. But they didn't do themselves any favor by saying that, yes, you are limited to the number of trips you can make, and you'll get a fine in the mailbox if you go out beyond that. Because we're surveilling, we're going to be taking pictures of your license plates, and there's checkpoints, and there's et cetera, you know, it's weird. Anyway, with that, I yield. It's been a great meeting, Karen. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sandra. Well, this has been an exceptional gathering, everyone. I do apologize for my Zoom just cutting out on me. I knew Sandra would have my back. Thank you, everyone, for being who you are, standing for freedom. We've got this, and the reality that we're crossing the bridge over into is what we've been waiting for, and know in our hearts that it's truly going to be a magnificent, peaceful, amazing oasis that our soul is saying, yay. All of us are going to be there on the other side. And I just want to mention that the Tuesday call is an open forum connection call tomorrow night with Karen Hanna and Brian. Laura Jane is on there as well, just sharing really powerful conversation in regards to many topics. And please join the different forums. You can go to lifeforcecanada.ca. If you are here and new here and somebody just gave you the Zoom link and you haven't registered through lifeforcecanada.ca yet, I highly recommend you do, because you're going to be receiving in our newsletter and lots more information and workshops available to you as well. Thank you, everyone. Love you. Together we rise.
Thanks. Night.
Good
Night, all.
Good night,
Good night. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, guys. Night.
Night.
Night.